Okay, let's talk electric fence. I thought electric fencing was complicated. I thought it was required professional installation. I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be super expensive. What I found was that is not the case. It is super, super easy to do. Surprisingly shocking. No pun intended. So I wanted to put together a quick little video to show you guys that are kind of new to this, how easy it is to put in a single wire electric fence that will keep whatever you want out or whatever you want in. And there are a couple of things you got to keep in mind. And so I'm going to go through the top steps of what you got to do in order to get this thing right the first time. So now let's talk corner post, right? You've seen a lot of videos, I'm sure, about people putting up wood fences and how you need to brace it. So you need to have this cross beam brace here, and they recommend that you have these wires so that it'll stay square. All that is wonderful, except for the fact that then you have to work around these wires when you start doing your corners, okay? So you can see the corners, right? And so these right here are L brackets like that screw into the wooden post. These little guys right here are plastic, and the wire then gets attached, wrapped around and attached to those corner posts. Now these in particular are intended to, I think, are much more sturdier than some of the other ones that I've seen. And I'll show you some pictures of the other ones that we have on the property that we've tried. These seem to be the sturdiest and least likely to break. But remember, these are intended to do a corner. So if you're going to end it here, and I have it angled because mine is going that way and this way. If you have it angled like this, but you're only pulling tension one way, you are likely to bend that because of the amount of tension that's on this. So remember, when you get to your corners, you're going to want to angle your connection on the corners so that it is working with the way you're pulling it and not against it. So what I mean is, if this was a terminal pole, I may have wanted to put this differently so it's not at an angle like this, because I do not want this to bend. I may have wanted to put it straight up outwards as opposed to on an angle. But because this is taking the corner and I have a pull this way and I have a pull that way, this is then going to equalize the force on that end. The other thing to keep in mind too is these cross braces, right? Remember I told you these cross braces that we put on here to keep this square, and my husband put 2 because this is going such a large span. If your electric wire touches these, it will ground out, meaning that the electricity will go through this item into the pole, into the ground, and it will lessen the shock, if not eliminate it entirely. So what you're going to want to do is, if your wire comes too close to this, you can get either rubber tubing. Some people have used hoses. They do sell, when you go to the wire place, they sell these black small strips that you can run and make sure and put those black pieces along where it's touching anything else. I just saw this stupid dog has my bucket over there. Oh, now I'm going to have to climb the fence to get over there. Okay, never mind. Electric fencing is phenomenal. Love it. Here's one of the things you have to keep in mind though. You see this T-post, okay? That T-post, white top. Look at it closely up close. Looks like a true T, right? It's a little fatter. See it from the top? Okay. Now, come over here to this T-post. This T-post, obviously it's a little shorter, but the other thing you're going to notice about it, it's not a T. It's actually more of a U shape. And it's got these clips in the front instead of the little knots. Okay? So, I don't know if I have another one. So here is the challenge. This is a perfect example. Notice here how I have my electric set up. You see the clip that I have to use on this T-post? Okay. Now, look at the T-post here that we used. Look at the clips that we have to use. They're different. So, one of the things that you're going to have to realize is that depending on your T-post, depending on your post, if you're doing a wood post and it's a terminal end, you may need these guys. If it's not, then you're going to need a different one. So, all T-posts are not created equal. Make sure that you know what type of T-post you have if you have T-post on your electric line, and that way you can know exactly which one of these insulators you're going to need. Because you buy them in huge bags, and the time to realize they're the wrong ones are not when you get them home. The other ones that you're going to need if you have wooden post are these. And these little guys just screw right in. They come in pretty big size bags, but they break kind of easily, especially if you're using a screwdriver or a pair of pliers to finish getting them in. But my hands aren't strong enough. So always buy yourself extra and get the right bit. So one of the first things you got to ask yourself is, what do you want to keep in and what do you want to keep out? Now personally, when we first created our paddocks, you can see this part over here, which is kind of the original side that we're going to redo. We didn't really give a lot of credence to the fact that we had wooden poles. So we didn't want to spend a lot on wooden poles. We didn't have an auger. We were doing these by hand or with a little one-man handheld auger. So you can imagine that putting in these posts required a great deal of back strength. So you can see we put a lot of T-post. I wouldn't recommend that if you are going to be keeping out larger animals or keeping in larger animals. Now mind you, if you're doing pigs, then T-post is probably overkill because you only have to do like maybe 12 inches off the ground. If alpacas don't challenge the fence, you really don't even need electric for alpacas for them to stay in, but you do need to keeping things out. So my personal opinion, I think you are best suited if you're going to have this electric for protecting livestock, such as my goats back there in the background, is to spend the money, do it right. Even if you have to rent an auger, get the wooden post in the ground. Okay? So when you have the wooden post, you're going to be using different types of ways to hold the wire up. If you're using wooden posts, you're going to use something like this, which this just screws into the wooden post, and the wire can slide through this little slot right here. And this is plastic, so this insulates it from grounding. If you have T-posts, though, as I previously mentioned, you have to pick the insulators that match the T-post. Because as I told you before, no two T-posts are created equal. So you see this T-post has orange ones. If you look over there, that T-post has a yellow one. And then if you pan over in the other video I showed you, those over there have even different ones. And that's because we used what we had. Hey there, buddy. You're so cute. We used the T-posts that we had, that we found laying around, that we could get cheap, that we could get in bulk, and that type of thing. The problem with that is, we even have some here on the ground that we dug up and, trying to reuse and recycle. The challenge is that you will find that no two T-posts are created equal. And so we ended up needing different types of insulators and different types of connections because we were using different types of poles. Not the smartest way to do it. So if you want my advice, do it right. Do wood posts like we did here for the new paddock. Okay? Do wood post. Here's a wood post. See across the back, I did all wood posts. That's the smartest way to do it. And that way, you only have to buy one bag of these types of insulators. And then for the corners, you're going to buy those that have the posts. Here's the other key thing that you need to make your electric fence the best it can be. Okay? And this is a spring. This part is the spring. This part is the ratchet. These come as two separate pieces. They sell them at Tractor Supply and other farm supply stores. You can find them. You could probably order them online. So these two come in separate pieces, and you're going to need to take out the inner part of this spring in order to attach that. And I'm going to show you how to do that. The beauty of this is that this part over here, as you can see, gets tied off to this side of the line, and this side over here gets fed through the ratchet, a little hole in the ratchet. It gets fed through the ratchet, and then using a special white tool, which I'll show you, it gets tightened. And the beauty of that is that it's not, because it has the spring, it is tight, but it is not piano wire tight where if an animal bumps into it, if an animal runs into it, that the pressure of it will cause it to snap. That's the point of the spring. The point of the spring is for it to have a little bit of a give so that the animal pushes into it. It gives it time to shock them and get them off of it without necessarily snapping the line. And when you have a big livestock dog like that bonehead who doesn't watch where he's going all the time, it's very easy to see how you could end up, or even one of the goats. They love to rub up on the fence, and that's the reason why the electric is on the inside, is to keep them off the fence and keep the dogs from digging out and keep the dogs from eating my chickens who stick their heads through the fence. So this is new paddock that we just opened up, by the way. And this will be number 6. So we have 6 paddocks we're going to rotate them through, and we're hoping that by the time these girls get done with all this, the other paddock will have grown up, and so they will always have some fresh, great, prickly stuff to eat. Really? Really? You have to eat everything, don't you? You're so pretty. You're so pretty. But you're a bonehead. He loves sticks and goat food. I think he thinks he's a goat. So my son's going to demonstrate this because my hands aren't strong enough to do it. So when you're going to do the spring and clip for your electrical, it comes like this, and it's super easy to take it out. You're going to do that again. Let me zoom in. All right. So you see how it has little loops and then it has the little ends. So you're going to pull it out. See? Super easy. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take that and your ratchet, put it through so it's there. All right. Now here's the tricky part. You'd love to be able to put it back the way you took it out, but because of that ratchet being in the way, you've got to reverse it. But pay attention to how you put it in, because remember, those ends have to end up with the loop side, not the same ends. So if you put that in on the end that has that, it'll end up in the right end. All right, so go ahead and do that, sweetie.
Like this?
No, see, you're going to make the mistake I just said not to do.
Okay. We'll edit that. So like that?
Yep. You push them together so that they fit in the tube, and then just keep pushing and pushing. It'll go. There you go. And when they pop out over there, now you have this end that you're going to connect to the wire, and you have this end that you're going to ratchet to connect the other end of the wire. Voila, you're done. Thank you, Jonathan.